already massively successful, like $1 million companies, like they're making money, but
Mm-hmm.
like they're still chained to this thing they built.
Radio show, man, they everywhere.
All right, y'all, tune in for another episode of Make That Radio Show. I'm your host, Andres, and I have Femi Doyle-Marshall, who is a leading business growth consultant. And make sure y'all understand all these titles now. Time management consultant, speaker, author, and founder of REBOOTX Academy Entrepreneur Incubator. Femi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Very impressive. See, I don't know why Siri. Stop Siri. Siri, you listening to everything. Well, I tell you what. That's a great blooper. I love that.
That's good.
Try to be great out here. Then Siri want to sit there and listen. And I'm like, come on.
Wants to hop in.
What you gonna talk about, Siri? Just the side note, I like how some people be asking Siri certain questions, whatever, and they be roasting everything and using it as content. I think like things like that is hilarious. But Femi, you do a lot of stuff. I wanted to focus this conversation around, what was it? Building your business around your life. It was, there it is. How to build your business around your life. I think a lot of people, when they jump into entrepreneurship, they don't really have a clear understanding of what entrepreneurship is. They see all the stuff on, like TV, like Shark Tank and, The Profit, all these different shows, but they don't realize what really goes into it. And, I tell people, so I've been an entrepreneur since 2005, part-time, 2013, full-time, right? Kids, all that, family life, multiple businesses stuff. So I get it. But one thing I don't do is I won't jump into an industry where I'm not passionate about it. I like to be passionate about the things that I jump into. But I see where a lot of people jump into industries and not necessarily passionate, they're just chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that that's not your motto and everything, because of building a business around your life seems to me more passionate led, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah. No, so, that's actually spot on. Yeah.
Let's get into talk about a little bit about your business background and the various things that you've done, and then what led you on this path to be an entrepreneurial incubator, like to have this academy.
Yeah, man. I think like I'll probably start off by saying is the journey of entrepreneurship is different for each individual.
Yes.
Right. Trying to expect that you can follow a cookie cutter framework is probably the fastest way to fail. Right.
Yeah.
For me, I always found that when I was younger, I wanted to be on my own. Like I was like, I'm not getting no job. I kind of seen, parents and family, friends, parents, just grinding and, just not being around their children and not being around their family. And I was like, man, that's not life. Like, I don't really know if I want to subscribe to that way of operating and doing stuff. So I was always trying to think of new things I could do from when I was young. Like I was like trying to hustle stuff. I was, I was making jewelry and trying to sell that stuff. I was doing like a bunch of different stuff, doing promos, and I was even doing spoken word performances. That's what a lot of people don't even know. Like I was on stage doing performances and stuff like that. But I was like, I really want to figure out how to build a brand and build a business. That ended up snowballing into me getting into health and fitness coaching, being an athlete as well too. And, I launched my first business when I was 16, had a really bad injury, broken leg, tibia, fibula in half, like full leg cast in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was in a wheelchair in high school, but that built the foundation for me to want to train and get back to being in shape and get healthier so I can play. But then I ended up starting to train my teachers in high school. Like that's actually how everything started. So I was like 16 training like my calculus teachers. It was crazy, right? And they were actually paying me money while I was in high school to train them. And I was like, whoa, I think I got it, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of use that base, that foundation to really take it serious. I'll never forget one of my most impactful teachers, Ian Headley. He basically said to me, he was like, um, if you were to take this thing serious, what would you do? And I was like, I could take this serious. He's like, yeah, you could turn this into a business. And that was it. You know, I started my first coaching business at that age, started working with teachers. And I went from working with my teachers, going and working, doing B2B contracts and running corporate programs for organizations, and then had a facility and running programs. And in that same time span, made like a media branding company where I was doing promotional products and printing for clients that I was working with. So I was doing all of this stuff from like 16 up, right? And I kind of realized I was having fun because I loved what I was doing. Yet I was working so crazy that I was like literally not having time for myself. Got sick again. This time not an athletic injury, but just, you know, stress and work. Ended up pretty much being in a hospital with like my blood pressure being 220 over something. Had signs of a stroke, you know, thought that was it. And at that point in time, I already no longer in my teens, now in my like late 20s, you know, I have a wife now, you know, and it was a conversation of like, you need to change how you work. You need to change how you're moving with this brand, this business. And that became the foundation for me to really launch one of my first books, which is called Reboot, that you only really can get access to that book if you're connected with me. And that book, Reboot, became the foundation of REBOOTX Academy, which started off as REBOOTX Coaching, and then it evolved into REBOOTX Academy and REBOOTX Academy Entrepreneur Incubator, where we actually work with business owners to show them how to build their business around their life. So I kind of went from the hustle to how can I hustle smarter, to how can I build a business better, to how can I build a business that's scaled and buy back my time so I can actually be present around the people I love and care about. So
I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get lost in, right? I've seen them over the years. Like I used to tell people at first, you know, no, you got to work, you know, I didn't tell them this or whatever, but this is what I thought. You got to work 12 hours, 15 hours a day and stuff like that, right? Yeah, I see it. The trigger points for you, right? Just takes you back. But then I was like, you know, how can you work smarter or whatever? So you got to build infrastructures and stuff like that, be able to like build a team. And you're building something sustainable to where you don't have to be there for it to still run. And I was telling people, like when I learned all that, like, look, this is how you, like you said, buy back your time. I did that with previous business that I had where I was taking on responsibilities and then I set up an infrastructure. And then now here it is, I gave those responsibilities to to people. And I get back my time to now do other stuff. And I'm like, I love it. I don't have to work hard every day. What I do, I enjoy the few hours I am working. You know, it's not really work. It's enjoyment of something I want to do. And I get to like, you know, have my downtime and spend it however I want to, because we all need that. We all need to be able to decompress from the day and go and focus on something else. And your experience in working with all these different entrepreneurs through the incubator process, I imagine that, you know, you bump into a lot of people, you know, who have misconceptions of how they should work their day. So what's that process like with you when y'all and your team are, you know, coaching them through this? Are they very resistant? Are they like, okay, let me apply this information a little at a time? What are they doing on their end?
Yeah, I think it's like a wide range. You know, I have people who come inside of REBOOTX Academy that are kind of like green in the entrepreneur game, you know, where they're kind of told this lie of like burn the candle on both ends and you should almost kill yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna say this straight. Like, I'm not telling you to not work, because if you don't work, you don't get anything.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
But what I'm telling you is like, sometimes if you listen to the wrong advisors, the wrong mentors, the wrong coach, you can end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people come in because they don't know. They're just kind of scrolling through and they hear the wrong
Mm-hmm.
message, but they think it's the
Exactly.
right message. And then they just end up not getting any results. Like they're just like,
Mm-hmm.
Femi, hot, like I'm not making sales. I have no leads. I had a conversation
Mm-hmm.
with one person who had no leads come in for like an entire year. And I'm like, how do you have a business? Like
Mm-hmm.
no, like we got to think about how you're using your time a little bit differently so that you can not feel overwhelmed. So some people
Mm-hmm.
come in like that, where we really have to kind of talk about what is the mindset of actually being an entrepreneur? What do
Mm-hmm.
you actually need to do throughout the day that can grow your business and create that freedom you're looking for? There are people that are like that we kind of
Mm-hmm.
work with that are just kind of starting out. But then we also have people who are like already massively successful, like $1 million companies, like they're making money, but
Mm-hmm.
like they're still chained to this thing they built, which is crazy because
Uh-huh.
that's kind of
Yeah.
like what I went through, right? Like I was chained to this thing that was successful, it's moving, people are seeing money coming in, people are seeing clients like, oh, this guy's good, but I'm like, I want to rest. Like
Mm-hmm.
I
Exactly.
I want I want to go watch a movie. Like I want to, like, can I stop? And
Mm-hmm.
you're not in that position. So with individuals like that, what we end up having to do is look at how their current organization is set up, how their current brand is
Mm-hmm.
set up, and then figure out how they can create space within the brand, within the
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure by either training their team up or just literally automating aspects of the business. So there's a few people that we've actually worked with that, you know, they might not even thought of an organizational chart. I'm throwing game, right? Might not
Yeah.
even thought of an organizational. They thought of it's them, and then people help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you don't have clearly defined roles and clearly defined assignments and tasks for these people in your
A lot of
organization,
chaos.
who you're done. Like there's nothing you can do because at that point you're basically trying to out fires all day, and then
Uh-huh.
then you're getting messages when you're supposed to be putting you're chilling to sleep or you're spending time with your partner. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like that's not why people build businesses. So
Yeah.
it depends on which spectrum someone is kind of coming in from. The
Mm-hmm.
idea is there's a way that you specifically need to work to produce the results you want to see for your business. We got
Mm-hmm.
to first get clear on that and then build out your entire infrastructure with you. So that's what
Yeah.
we do on a day-to-day basis.
So you don't have to like, walk us through the entire process, but give us a summary of like, how long would it take typically? I know it's case by case or whatever, based off of the extreme that you're on, but sometimes I tell people, look, sometimes it'd be like a 90 day, it could be 60, not in a 90 day or 6 months, whatever the case may be, depending on how massive the business is or the things that you need to add to it to be able to put in place.
Yeah. Timeline wise, I think like usually from what I've seen is 4 to 6 weeks. It's funny. It's the same kind of mentality with like physical fitness and training and coaching. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
4 to 6 week window because I'm not going to say you're going to automatically revamp your entire business in 4 to 6 weeks, but you'll get space. And I mean like drastic space. I had one of our clients who came in, they were operating everything by themselves, built a team, hired their daughter. Their daughter ended up being able to work remotely. Then they hired another person on their team. They were able to fire clients that were draining them and then build their business up and it scaled by like 10 to 15x. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? In that time span. And that was like 60 days
Mm-hmm.
realistically. So, I think the mindset from what I've seen is if you're committed to really restructuring your brand and really committed towards buying back your time,
Mm-hmm.
within 4 to 6 weeks, you'll see some serious momentum and serious
Mm-hmm.
shifts just working with us. Um, Within the first 1 to 2 weeks, if you're executing on like the tasks that we have assigned as personalized to you, you'll see change,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've had people who didn't have the infrastructure in place for them to generate leads effectively, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know what is the best method for their business model. And within the first week, we've had people literally make all the income they needed to make for a month in a week after coming in. So like
Mm-hmm.
it varies, but I would say like 4 to 6 weeks is that range for you to really see a shift.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I would say you got to put your head down like at least at that point because you're going to be battling your old self and the old
Mm-hmm.
systems that's going to try and tell you to go back to that way of working when that's actually not what you really want, right? It's what
Mm-hmm.
you think you need to do. So
Mm-hmm.
4 to 6 weeks to get that infrastructure. I would say if you commit to that for like 6 months to a year, it's just going to become normal for you at
Mm-hmm.
that point. And
Yeah.
then you could start scaling even more effectively from what I've seen
Yeah.
with a lot of the business owners you've been working with.
That's what's up. I love it. So I imagine, so as you're going through this experience and stuff like that, is that where that prompted the book for you to write, Purposeful Work Week book?
Yeah. So the Purposeful Work Week is actually also the name of our like flagship program for like time
Mm-hmm.
management and productivity. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
what I built in the height of the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I started having conversations with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, and I was like, man, your calendar's out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, what do you mean you're not working now? What do you mean you don't have time to eat? What do you mean? Like I understand, I've been there, but if you are not in a position of strength, if you're not in a position to produce, your business won't grow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that kind of prompted me after having these conversations and working with a bunch of clients to give somebody something that's more accessible in case you're not able to get into our program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not able to get into our program, you got to get the Purposeful Work Week book because the stuff that's inside of there is stuff that people directly work with us one-on-one inside of
Mm-hmm.
REBOOTX Academy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really goes into how to get rid of calendar chaos.
Mm-hmm.
It really gets into what is the mindset for me to really kind of avoid these distractions that can really prevent me from producing the results I want to see for the business. How do I
Mm-hmm.
create proper KPIs? What are KPIs?
Mm-hmm.
Key performance indicators. How
Mm-hmm.
do I create and what we call P2 KPIs? So your
Mm-hmm.
personal and professional KPIs. How do you build those things? All of that is in the book. And I realized that nothing like that actually existed.
Mm-hmm.
And the more conversations I was having with our clients and people that would come in and ask about us, they were like, I've spent thousands of dollars. I've purchased courses, I've purchased programs, but what you have is the only thing that gave me results. And I was like, I gotta make this book. Like I gotta
Yeah.
like this book has to be out there
Mm-hmm.
because it could prevent that other entrepreneur from ending up in the hospital like I did. Like that's kind of
Yes. And I
the
love the
mindset.
fact that it has that connection to you because, like you said, there's a lot of bad courses out there. There's a lot of people just giving other people crazy information just to make themselves sound good and to make a
Yeah.
buck in a sale or whatever, but you're actually connected to it. So, what have been like, in shifting, I'm saying, your mindset and really like, scaling your business, what's been like one of the most difficult things that you've had to overcome?
The most painful things. You said
Mm-hmm.
painful, right? Painful
Yeah,
things I've
yeah.
overcome. Hmm. Believing that what's in your head, no matter how crazy it is,
Mm-hmm.
someone needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I and I'm gonna tell this story.
Mm-hmm.
I was battling myself for 10 years to launch RebootX Academy. It showed up in
Yeah,
different forms in
yeah,
that time span. Like it showed up in different forms. I would just straight up give people advice and information, but I wasn't speaking about it. Like I wouldn't directly focus on generating clients for this business because like I can't talk about it yet. I can't
yeah.
talk about it yet. And I think the pain of not executing on that thing
Mm-hmm.
really was impacting me slowly over time,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't really until I got sick where I was like, I got to change something and I got to do something different. And then that opened up the door to where what you see today. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest pain was not actually believing what I had in my mind could help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And the hesitation to do that and the time and the doubt and I don't think it can be done. And then all of a sudden, all my
Mm-hmm.
books sell out the second I launch it, right? All of
Yeah.
a sudden, everyone signs up and they're like, oh, I'm going to refer someone in. And it's like, whoa, like this is actually what our community needs as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs and
Yes.
business owners. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, like I think that was really painful. Also, I would say transitioning
Mm-hmm.
into your new identity as a business owner. So if you are a
Mm-hmm.
business owner and you're like stepping out of this persona, which is ironic, that's actually the name of
Mm-hmm.
my other brand, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
stepping out of this other persona of what you're building, and people associate that with you, and you're
Mm-hmm.
getting the backlash of people saying, who are you to try and change what you've actually been doing,
Yeah.
right?
I love
Right.
it.
and then you're stepping into this next one, but then you have a whole larger group of people who are like, where have you been? Right.
Exactly.
So this is all stuff from like 2020. I'm telling you that actually took place, which is kind of crazy to look back on it now, where, we got like 10 to 20 leads coming in per day, calendar filled, people asking questions, we're doing contracts for organizations. So yeah, like, I think that process of transitioning into who you really are supposed to be and how you're supposed to serve, that was painful. Yet the payoff in the end, it gave you what you want. So
yeah, exactly. So imagine you using the words I like to hear, like we, and things of that nature. So it makes it, I know that it's more than just you, correct?
yeah.
How do you like being the leader, or looked upon as the CEO and decision maker for the most part?
It's all right. I'm gonna break it down like this. It's all right. It's all right. I think for me, with my first business, I was like, yeah, like I want to make sure I call all the shots. I want to call all the shots. This is how things go. I feel like the stage that I am in entrepreneurship and business building, I want to empower other people to have that leadership hat, right? I want to actually create more opportunities for people to create extreme freedom in their life, to create opportunities of independence, to actually build their brand and their story and their communities. Like, that's kind of more my push. So I don't really see myself alone as like a CEO. I kind of see myself as a partner, right? I see myself as a strategic partner. I see myself as a consultant. I see myself as obviously a founder, of like REBOOTX Academy, and co-founded, my wife and I, we built this thing together. Yeah, my mindset is like, how can I, and I always use this example, how can I pass the ball to someone else so that they can take that shot? How can I help someone develop their skill so that they are playing their own game on their own court, and they're like, hey, Femi, come in, let's do this thing together. That's kind of how I see myself now as a CEO, and executive. I kind of look at it as, I'm in a position that I can empower someone else to even be better than me. Like, that's what I actually want to see every day. Like, how can I help you surpass me so that we all can continue growing, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as visionaries, and continue down that path.
Yeah, I think some people lose that. I love it, because I did the same thing. Like, I'm sure you mentor some people as well. I have a mentee that I've been mentoring since, not my first mentee, but been the best mentee so far. And she has grown since February or March, around there. Now here it is, December. And like you said, presenting opportunities. So not only doing the podcast, but I'm also doing video production, creating content, skits, all that stuff, right? Before this interview, shot a skit and all her creative ideas. Not only did I shoot the skit, but I also included somebody else that I met like a couple of weeks ago. He was in it as well. And then I was like, while they're talking, do y'all make sure y'all have each other's information so y'all can then collaborate and do stuff on your own without me being the middle person? I was like, so, I love it. And they both loved it. It was like a co-directing type of feel. And once I edit it and put it out, I already know it's going to be fabulous. But being able to put people in a position to collaborate and to execute their ideas and to provide them resources and guidance, it's like one of the best feelings in the world, besides like, having kids and stuff like that. Because you get to see a person grow. And like you said, why not push somebody that can get faster and quicker? Because she's younger than me. So I love it. Because I got a few years on it. So I want her to be able to excel and get past all the hurdles that I had to go through. Not even have to worry about those, shoot past those, and be able to come back like, hey, well, I got this thing, and I want you to come on and do this with me. And, I love stuff like that.
But you don't really realize it, right? Like, I think like the other day I was going through the grocery store, and this experience kind of blew my mind. I was just, picking up groceries for the family, want to get something to eat, and there's this younger gentleman who was just at the cash register, just kind of scanning all the stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm like, how you doing, man? He's like, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. He's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. You know, just heading home right now. Just gonna take it easy and have some time with the family. And he's like, that's awesome. He's like, you're coming home from work? I'm like, no, no, no. I work remotely. I have like
Mm-hmm.
he's like, what? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, you know, I have my own business and I work from home. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you do? And I told him like, you know, I do business consulting, you know, for entrepreneurs. And he's like, oh, I was looking at getting into school and studying marketing. Out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
this is one kid that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking to at like the grocery
Mm-hmm.
store. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, marketing is good. And I start talking like, you should look at doing copywriting, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
start a copywriting agency before you even
Mm-hmm.
step into school. And he's
Yep.
like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I've mapped out exactly what you need to do. Read this book, do this stuff, do this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, can I have your information and I can like
Mm-hmm.
get some help? I'm like, yeah, man. And after I left and I scanned everything and I'm going to the car, I
Mm-hmm.
paused and I was like, that kid was me.
Yeah.
That kid was me. Like that was actually me like 15
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Like where I was like, can somebody help me? Like, can someone show
Mm-hmm.
me how to
Mm-hmm.
get out of this
Mm-hmm.
situation? Because no one I've seen is doing this, but I believe is possible. So it kind of blew my mind to literally
Yeah.
experience I'm that guy that I wish I had then, and I actually
Mm-hmm.
had that experience
Mm-hmm.
then. It was just different. So
Yeah.
yeah, mentorship's huge.
It is. I'm like, you changed the trajectory of his life.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you'll see it, and I've had those moments where I was in college, and actually that's what I did. I did marketing, which is
that's cool.
hilarious. Business with a concentration in marketing, and I met a gentleman and did mentorship. He was in like the seventh or eighth grade at the time. I used to help with the homework and all that stuff. Years later, comes back, hits me up on Facebook. I saw him at an event I was at where I was selling some cook shop products, which were like I got hemp-based products that I sell. And he was like, man, you don't remember me, but you impacted my life because all the information you used to give me and stuff like that. It was just
Mm,
I was like, wow, I it's hardly ever you get to meet somebody where you change the trajectory of their life. And I
yep.
love that moment and appreciate it because I know a lot of people don't get to have that. And I'm
No.
like, it's just amazing. So you doing entrepreneurship and just listening to your story, were you the first one in your family to like really do full time pursue entrepreneurship, or did you have a blueprint from others?
I think everyone in my family was entrepreneurial to one degree or another, you know?
Okay.
Like I think when you come from an environment of innovation
Mm-hmm.
that influences you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where if you see your mom come up with ideas of stuff, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, my parents being Caribbean, that was kind of like a huge integral component. You know, you got to come in and mix up a thing and try something. You know, like that
Mm-hmm.
idea, that concept makes you think differently. Like, oh, maybe I could try and mix up something and try it myself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that infused with kind of watching the grind and the hustle
Mm-hmm.
and the work ethic that everyone around me had really influenced me to think,
Mm-hmm.
how can I do this but do it differently,
Yeah.
right? um and then at that point, like I said, like mentorship played a huge role for me from when I was
Mm-hmm.
young. Like I remember being in circles and communities where I'm around artists, you know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
around poets, I'm around, you know, politicians, I'm networking with people, and I'm like young, like under 10. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
14, 13, 12 as I get older, and I'm, you know, seeing all these people and I'm like, maybe I could do something like that, you know? And then after a
Mm-hmm.
while, you know, I start connecting with people who are older than me that are making serious money building businesses, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
even 20. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, wait, what? Like, people, you can
Mm-hmm.
make money like this, and
Mm-hmm.
like you don't have a job? And I'm like, okay, how can I take this and kind of infuse it into my own? And all of that really kind of influence kind of like the next generation. I'm seeing, you know, my nieces and nephews, you know, and them
Mm-hmm.
kind of like building ideas and brands. I was literally just talking to my nephew about him making his own apparel company because I was
Mm-hmm.
launched my company when I was 16. I was like, hey, you're in the same timeline. You started
Mm-hmm.
before me. Let's go, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a ripple effect. You don't really know to like after, and you're looking back and you're like, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
that impacted me and I'm impacting them, right?
That's what's up. So it sounds like you had a lot of wonderful moments and stuff, and then especially with inspiration. Going forward, what do you feel like, your biggest obstacles and hurdles might come from?
I think the biggest obstacle for me will be reach and time. I always have this conversation with my wife. I'm like, we don't have that much time on this earth realistically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very mindful of that. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
mindful of how I use it
Mm-hmm.
will dictate my future and the future of all those people around me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including those people that need to hear what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest challenge would be for me is how massive can I make the reach of REBOOTX Academy with the amount of time I have on this earth?
Yeah.
Like that is going to be kind of the thought in my head constantly. Like I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I not just have us dominate North America? You know, how can
Yeah.
we dominate like around the world and help
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs around the world really cancel the hustle culture? You know,
Yeah.
like how can we, get them in a state where
I
it's
was
like,
mm-hmm.
you know
I
what I
was
mean?
having
Like,
that conversation about hustling the other day with a fellow entrepreneur. And I told her hustling is fine. Hustling does not get you to like go. Because hustling, you're always thinking of, you're moving, but you're not able to step back and see the bigger picture. It's like what they're
yep,
saying, you can't see the forest between the trees.
yep,
So you don't even know that something is coming this way.
nope,
And when it gets there, now you got to pivot and redo something else, whatever. And you can plan ahead and be able to navigate and be able to take on that new, pitfall or, even avoid the hurdle and stuff like this. So I definitely love that. With publishing your book and stuff, right? I want to get into that stuff just a little bit. How was
yep.
that process for you? Was it easy? Was it, harder than what you anticipated?
Publishing a book is like a interesting experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have an opportunity to capture all of the concepts in your mind in a certain period of time and share with the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the Purposeful Work Week book is my second book. Like my first book, published printed book, is Reboot: The Path to Personal Breakthrough. So I already went through this process, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
went through the process. One of my good friends, Yahya Barua, authors of Struggle of a Dreamer, Tapestry House Publishing,
Mm-hmm.
he amazing gentleman, an amazing author, actually showed me the framework years ago on how to
Mm-hmm.
kind of write a book, flushing everything out. And because of my background in spoken word, because of my background in like art, I kind of knew how to flush out ideas really quickly. And I took that skill and just basically spoke out the fundamentals of
Mm-hmm.
the Purposeful Work Week and expanded on it from the client conversations we're having and
Mm-hmm.
what changes I was seeing in clients' lives and what challenges I was seeing in a lot of our clients' lives. I think for me, the experience was enjoyable
Mm-hmm.
because I was able to tie in the pain I
Mm-hmm.
was seeing another business owner go through and
Mm-hmm.
bring that pain out and focus on them having power to really change their life and better their brand and better their organization and build their
Mm-hmm.
business around their life. So the Purposeful Work Week took me about like 60 days, 30 to 60 days to really organize it. It's not a huge book, but the
Mm-hmm.
the actual concepts in the book took work for me to structure the right way that I think would have the most impact in a
Mm-hmm.
reader's life, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it I love it. Like I'm gonna pull it up. Like
Mm-hmm.
having it here, basically, I love it because it's so compact that you could take it with you anywhere. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
this huge textbook you have from like college or university, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like trying to
Mm-hmm.
walk around with it. Like no, like this is something that you could just put in your bag, put in your pocket, pull it out, read. What was that thing? Take notes, highlight, like,
Exactly.
yeah. So I thought of the experience that someone would have when they're reading this thing big time.
Did the book do the goals or expectations that you wanted it to have initially, or?
Yeah, I think like what's cool about it is when I first wrote it, it was like very A plus B equals C. Like you got to do this to get this outcome. Like that was kind of the mindset. And then I just kind of like this calling where it's like, no, man, you got to do more. You got to do more in that. You got to tie in a story. And what I did in the book is it actually follows the story of another business owner named Abby, and what Abby's life was like before the Purposeful Work Week. And that was something that came up like after, like it was like I already finished the book. And I was like, no, you got to put Abby in the book. You got to tell the story of Abby because, a reader needs to understand what they're feeling. Abby felt, and Abby's like all of the clients that have been in REBOOTX Academy. So I think the impact it's making now is in complete alignment to what I actually envisioned it being able to do for a reader. And it's, like one of my clients said she reread the book over the weekend because she needed to get back a handle of what she was building. And spot on, really spot on.
That's what's up. So, it has extreme value to it, unlike, it's all this other stuff. I know you're a busy man and everything, so let everybody know where can they go. They need to sign up, these consultations, book, whatever the case may be, how they need to be directed.
Yeah. So if you want to connect with me in REBOOTX Academy, pretty simple. Just go to REBOOTX.com. You'll see everything on our main website. No questions asked. Just literally go on there. You'll actually see the details that you could get the book officially for the Purposeful Work Week on our main website. You'll also see the ability to schedule a call with my team and me, right? So if you want to actually have a deep dive call with me to see like, man, how can I restructure my work week? How can I really build my business a little bit better? How can I generate more income? How can I, whatever that is, you just go to REBOOTX.com. Everything's on the website. You can hop on a call with me. You can grab the book. You can read. There's content. Everything is there. Just REBOOTX.com. I got you covered.
Thank you. I appreciate your story. Thank you for coming on. Definitely would love to, have you in the future again as see how bigger you have become. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting out that great business information like I know you're doing. And for everybody out there, if y'all have not, check out all the interviews that we do here on Bake That Radio Show. Go follow on various social media pages and also get ready for the relaunch of the app that we're doing.